So, our Newfoundland trip consisted of taking the ferry, as everyone would realize. And I wanted to do this video on the experience because there are some things that you need to know. So, this is the entryway coming down 105 East. And you really come to somewhat of a dead end, and you go right to go into North Sydney, or you stay to the left, and that takes you into the ferry parking lot. Now, one of the things you need to realize with the ferry is you want to be nice and early to check in, as I've heard some horror stories while we've been here about people missing their ferry or not booking it and not being able to get any kind of passage if they were towing a trailer or in an RV. So be on time. So you can see there, you just stay to the left. So now we're pulling into the staging area, and we got there super early. We were going to sail at 11:45, and we basically were at the door here around 8 or so. And that is just because I wanted to make sure that being the first time that we were on time and we're ready for anything that might get thrown our way. So we're just pulling in here. So when you pull up to this gate, it's kind of like going through customs in a way. You pull up and the lady will ask you your name and your booking number. So you give them your booking number and some identification from just actually one person in our RV. I just had to give them mine. This fella you see walking up now, he's got a little measuring device. So he'll go along the side of your motorhome or your trailer and car and measure the length and relay that to the lady in the booth. So then they tell you what lane to go in. So you can see here we're super early because, like I said, I didn't know what we were in for, and I wanted to make sure that we were one of the first vehicles that got onto the ship. Now, there's a lot of commercial vehicles on the left there that you can see that were even earlier than us, but we were actually the first motorhome or RV in the parking lot, and I don't even think there was actually any cars or trucks or anything that were there ahead of us. And like I say, they recommend that you're there 2 hours before sail, but we were there a little bit even earlier than that, just to make sure that we could get in. So it's pretty neat when you pull up here and you can see the couple of ships, and you really don't know, well, you kind of know which one you're going on, but it's hard to tell which one's which or which ramp you're going to go up. So the ship we were going on was the one on the left, and there's two ways that you go up onto this ship. One is you go around all the tractor trailer trailers on the left, and that would take you to the upper deck. And then going straight through the middle there is where you drive in to go to the lower deck. So in a second here, you'll see as we move along. And what I've done is I've not only done a front and a back, so you can see what it looks like when people are coming in behind. So that these guys here, they start directing people to move forward. And I didn't really see any rhyme or reason in which lane went first. Some of them to our right, some of them went, but then they came over and told some of the people in the lane to directly to our right. And then we went ahead of some of the people who were to our right. So I don't know if they look for certain types of vehicles or what they do. So here we are, we're waiting to drive up the ramp. And this is a view of the back. I have a dash cam front and back camera. So like I said, you can see the people coming up to our right, but we actually got on the ship before they did. So it really doesn't. There's no rhyme or reason to what how they load or why. So here we are. We're pulling up to the ramp, and there's lots of room. I mean, mind you, the weather was good. There, we weren't experiencing any rain at this point. Going across, we did experience a lot of rain and a lot of fog and so on. And even though we had a window in our cabin because we have a pet, you really couldn't see much out of the windows after the first hour. So here we are pulling in, and there was a fella in front of us in this cargo trailer, and really nice fella from Newfoundland. He was delivering some equipment for a company, and I had a little chat with him, and that was really great. That's one of the things, you meet all kinds of different people when you're on these ships. There's lots of fellas in the vests to direct you which way to go, so you're not confused. I found that to be really great. Now, going through this blue gate here, there was like maybe 2 or 3 inches or 4 inches of space on each side of my mirrors. So you really got to line yourself up pretty good. Now, this was a couple from Ontario that were behind us. And you can see that he pulls it a lot to the left to line himself up, just to make sure that he's going on straight. And then the vehicle behind him was a couple that we met from Quebec, and they were really nice as well. Amazing how many people we talked to that were going to Newfoundland in the last few days of travel. It seems that half of Canada's population is going to decide to go to Newfoundland this summer, and that's great. It's good for Canada and great for tourism in Newfoundland. So here we are pulling into the ship, and like I said, it really didn't make any sense, like going to the left or the right or whatever. So he let that fella go straight through, and then decided to direct us to the right side, even though there was space behind that cargo trailer on the left side. Eventually, the whole area filled up. The ventilation is really good in there because there's all kinds of tractor trailers and a huge assortment of different vehicles that they load on to these ships, and they're all communicating. They've got all these signs and hand signals and so on. It's quite interesting. So we decided to put us in this lane, and again, I took a little bit of footage of the fella coming in behind, and you can see that there isn't a lot of room. He's a little to the left, and for my liking, but he was fine. And it's fairly noisy in there because there's transports and so on and so forth. So we're pulling into our spot, and people, they direct you to basically get out of your vehicle as quickly as possible and take all your belongings and your pet and so on, because you cannot come back down to floors 3, 4, and 5 on the ship. And it's funny, the guy there, he kept telling us to go closer and closer. We were maybe 2 feet from the vehicle in front of us. So now, this is us exiting the ship, and the only complaint that I would have is that while we were waiting to get off, some of the transport trucks had started up their engines, and the fumes were a little bit irritating, but it wasn't too bad. They tell you not to start your engines until you see the vehicle in front of you move or till you're instructed to do so. But you know how it goes. Sometimes people don't listen, and so there was a little bit of fumes at the end. So this is Port aux Basques that we're pulling into now, and when you come out of the terminal, it's lots of room. There's good signage to let you know you know, which way to go. And we were going to visit some family, so we just basically took this takes you right on to the Trans-Canada. And the one thing that you do have to watch out for is a lot of trucks and cars decide, for whatever reason, to pull over as soon as they get out of here. And I don't know if that's because they just don't know which way to go or what it is, but I found it to be a little bit tight and had to go around some of these transport trucks because of that. And the actual, like, downtown part of Port Basque is not very far away at all. And you know, there was no congestion, no traffic. I found it to be really, really good as far as that kind of thing went. Now, mind you, later on in the summer, it might be a little bit different, but you know, it wasn't too bad when we went through. Now, Port Basque is one of the interesting things about it is, you know, when you go into some little towns, you kind of can tell when you're going into the area that's, you know, the commercial area or the shopping area or whatever. But the way it's laid out, it really is kind of hard to tell exactly what's what, because a lot of the houses are the same. They, you know, they're a lot of, you know, the architecture is basically what they call the square box look, or I can't remember what they call it in Newfoundland, but a lot of the houses are basically the same kind of style, and they're all generally sided. You don't see any brick in Port Basque or a lot of Newfoundland, apparently, because of the salt. The salt water deteriorates the brick and the mortar, so they basically build with the aluminum siding. They've got everything here. I mean, there's a Canadian Tire, there's a Tim Hortons, there was a Foodland. So, you know, if you do need any kind of supplies or food or fuel or anything when you get off the ship, everything is readily available. And, you know, the signage is good. We knew exactly where we were going. And now I'm going to point out one thing. Port Basque was where Fiona hit in 2022. So you're going to see some houses that, you know, the electrical wires are like dangling on the side of them. And at first we were a little confused about that, but my cousin, who gave us a tour of the town, said that you know, it was you know, 150 houses were damaged in Hurricane Fiona. So they you know, a lot of houses that looked like they were just basically in excellent condition are going to be tore down, and a lot of them have already been tore down, and the government has paid the folks to basically just pack their bags and you know, move out. And you know, the government has given them another piece of land in Port Basque and a fee or a lump sum payment based on the square footage of their house. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and it give you some insight into what you need to do when you're getting on and off the ferry, and a little bit of information for Port Basque. Thanks a lot for watching, and look for future videos about our trip to Newfoundland. Thank you.